What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode review for Takt Destiny. This is episode 11, and with me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm So this episode leads me to believe that this is more than likely the penultimate episode of the series, because it looks like we're pretty much going to get the finale most likely next week. If not then it'll probably be the week afterwards.
I was
Um,
kind of taken aback by how it started, honestly. I didn't see some of the dumb things coming. And I guess like part of it comes from me thinking it might be a little bit longer. But we didn't know the exact episode count. I don't know if do we still not know the exact episode count? I mean, obviously we can assume at this point it's probably like 12 episodes, but
I think it's more than likely going to be 12 episodes, just
yeah,
based on the way this episode is.
it
How
just
this
kind
episode is
of got
going.
into things immediately. Like, I mean, uh, I didn't know what was happening throughout like a good majority of it. Like, I mean, I okay, yeah, because
Well, here's the thing. I really felt like that this series could have benefited if it had a second core, but I
yeah,
really think that they're just kind of rushing through this too quickly.
I mean,
Saying like
pacing's been a
we mentioned,
fairly consistent issue throughout this, I would say. Uh,
yeah. I mean, considering that this is an anime original series, I think this could have, like I said, it could have benefited a bit more if they, had a second core, had more time to develop its characters, give us a little bit more reasonings to the villain's motivations and what exactly just what exactly just happened. And
mhm.
so it's a yeah. So what happened at the beginning of this episode is both Charlotte and Anna talking to each other, discussing on what to do with Tack and Destiny, and Charlotte recommends that both of them be put into cryogenic stasis just to keep their conditions in check, while she works more than likely several decades to find a cure for their condition. And of course, Anna is not opposed to that decision.
Mhm.
But all of a sudden, like the scene transitions to Sangan down to like an underground like basement with like a whole shards of like the meteorite fragments that was mentioned, that brought the D2s in the first place. He impales his hand on it, and then and then all of a sudden it unleashes like a whole load of shards of of the or crystals, like destroying the entire Symphonica complex in New York.
And unleashing a lot of these D2s, I guess. I and yeah, like I kind of wish we knew exactly what like Saigon's motivations were and all that, because it just seems like yeah, like it seems like this is the penultimate episode. Like, stuff is starting to really like this is building up to a climax, with this crystal like just popping up really out of nowhere, and then all these D2s coming out. So
We don't even know if Sangan's even alive.
I don't know what he
after
was
all of that.
planning to do with that. Like, is he trying to fuse himself with the crystal or something, or trying to like absorb its power? Like, we don't really know, because we don't really know what he's trying to do. And I kind of like that's why I feel like we kind of needed a little bit more time with the series just to develop those things a little bit more. So maybe we knew about like what he was really like, what Sagan was really trying to do, like what his motivation is, as well as various other character relationships, because it seems like those are kind of we kind of get more. I'll just say we get a little bit more on that in this episode. One aspect in particular that I felt like kind of honestly came out of nowhere. I think I know you might know what I'm talking about, but
Yes.
yeah. But yeah, like we said, that's how the episode starts, and of course, Tact wakes up and he's still like looks terrible, but his condition, I guess, has improved enough to where he's able to walk around again. And of course, Tact and Destiny hear about this, I think, on the news, that the Symphonica has been just completely like taken over by this crystal. And we also see like a lot of these other music arts fighting the D2s off. So basically, we have Tact and Destiny going to try to save Lot and Anna, that are basically like still stuck in the Symphonica. Of course, somehow, conveniently, they did not get impaled by these crystals. They didn't get killed like a lot of these other people in the building that we see get like impaled by the crystal or killed by the D2s.
Yeah, and of course Titan's also accompanying them as well. But of course, without Lenny with them, then like Titan can't really unleash her full potential in battle. So they end up making their way through an underground passage into the Symphonica, while at the same time they're fighting off the D2s. But unfortunately, Takt is it's still like costly for Takt, because the longer that Destiny keeps fighting in her music art form, the more debilitating that Takt's condition gets, and it gets to the point where he almost starts limping at one point.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, like, I think that's just because, of course, he's using his power more, and he's pretty much like it looks like he's pretty much on the verge of death at this point, I guess. Like, he really doesn't have much longer to live, it would seem.
Yeah. And then we also transition back to Laud and Anna, who are trying to make their way out of the building, but at the same time they get cornered by a D2, and then conveniently they're both saved by Valkyrie, who we haven't seen since one of the prior episodes. So Valkyrie helps accompany them into the central. What was it? Rotunda, whatever that area of the building is, and then of course they meet up with Takt, Destiny, and Titan to help fight off this giant D2 in the Rotunda, and then they successfully managed to destroy the thing. But of course, Takt's condition continues to get worse, and then this of course leads Valkyrie to call him out on his condition, but Titan knocks her out before she can bring it up even further.
I was a little bit confused by that. Like, why did you have to knock her out?
Yeah,
I don't know.
And of course, this leads to more than likely a final conversation between Takt and Anna, like discussing that he'll most likely not be able to come back after what they're about to do. And like you mentioned earlier, the thing that was surprising to a lot of us, Anna just goes up and kisses Takt out of nowhere.
My problem with this is there was no it felt like there was no build up to this. Like their relationship didn't feel romantic, honestly. Like I thought it was. She came off as like she was like more like a sister, and there was never any anything that was hinted at it throughout the whole series that she felt any romantic feelings about Takt. Like she's concerned about Takt, but it's more like I felt it was more like a. It felt like I said, it's more like a sister relationship than her being, in any way romantically interested in him. And we never really get anything from that about that from Takt as well. I honestly thought like it was if there was going to be anything like that, it was going to be between Takt and Destiny, because that seemed like it was what it was hinting at, but apparently not. I guess I don't know. Like I said, it's very confusing, and it just comes completely out of left field.
Yeah. So Takt and Destiny, take off to face off against Sangon if he's alive, and of course, Destiny, of course, brings up the fact about Anna kissing him, and then Takt just doesn't want to even talk about it because even he doesn't even know why.
Yeah, I thought it was funny how Takt was pretty much about as confused as the audience probably was with that scene.
Yeah, it just. I mean, we don't get anything more than that, but they do make their way back into the central chamber of where the source of of all the crystallization was coming from, and of course the first people that they meet up against is Heaven and Hell, which I mean, and then soon afterwards, before they can get any information out of them, Heaven and Hell end up, I guess, killing themselves and fusing together into this new music art called Orpheus.
I don't know if you noticed this too, but the tuning fork, it turns into something that looks very similar to the Spear of Longinus from Evangelion. And also it's kind of acts similarly too, with them like stabbing each other in order to like for something like that to happen. It kind of reminded me of what the Spear of Longinus kind of does in Evangelion. So it's obviously more very very obviously Eva inspired stuff in the series.
Yeah, but yeah, but that's the episode. So we're treated
Yeah, they
to
basically like fuse to become like what was it called again? Orpheus or
Orpheus.
Orpheus, yeah. Yeah, so I guess of course they're setting up for this big fight, I guess, between Takt and Orpheus.
There has to be a good reason as to like how they like Tech and Destiny have to be in a condition to fight against her in that form. So unless Titan and the others manage to come back to help them out, it's just there's no. I don't see any logical way that like Tech and Destiny would be able to handle this themselves. Not to mention we don't even know what the status of Sangan is, whether or not he's even alive.
I mean, it seems like they're now in like I guess some more powerful state, whereas Takt is obviously very much weakened, and Destiny probably can't do much because Takt is pretty weak at this point. So yeah. I have a hard time believing they would be able to like fight them fairly at all.
And of course, not to mention the obvious death flag that Takt will eventually get into possibly by the next episode. I mean, I'd be a little bit surprised that he somehow manages to get out of this, but it's hard for me to even believe there'll be a logical reason for him to really survive at this point.
Yeah, I mean, I can't see any way he would survive this at all unless they come up, they just kind of have some kind of a Deus Ex Machina moment where they introduce something that we didn't know about that would save his life, which I unfortunately can kind of see happening, judging by how the series has kind of gone so far. But I don't know. I kind of feel like I have mixed feelings on the series as a whole. Like I mentioned before, it just feels like the pacing could have been better, and I mean, I think that's obviously due to this not having as many episodes.
The plus side is the animation quality is superb from Mappa's.
The animation's been pretty good for the most part. Like the fight scenes in particular are probably like the highlight of the series. But everything else, it just feels like it just doesn't really measure up, I would say. The characters are
a lot of it's just too rushed at this point. I mean, not to mention that whole swerve with the thing with Anna and Takt just came out of nowhere, just like
then there's stuff like that, which like I said, it just feels like it wasn't built up to at all, and their relationship didn't really come off that way throughout the whole series. I'm not sure. It's just like I feel like if the series maybe had a little bit, maybe some more episodes, we could get more character development. Although I would argue that we have seen other, series that could do a decent amount of character development or world building or whatever in that, in this amount of episodes. So I think it would have been possible, but it's just the way, I guess, what really should be blamed is just the way the series was written, just the way everything happened. It's like, I don't know if more episodes could have fixed it, but I think that, if they had done it a little bit differently, then we could have had some actually decent character development or world building or whatever. So I don't know if we should really blame the time they were given. It's just that the way everything was written, I think, is what's really to blame. So I don't know. I mean, like I said, it's not a bad series, I would say, but it's not really that great. At the same time, it's nothing too memorable from what I've seen so far. And I mean, if the way the series has been going at this point is anything to go by, I think obviously next week we'll probably be getting most likely the last episode, if not maybe a couple more episodes. So I don't know. I don't really have much else to say about the episode, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say about it.
Yeah, I mean, it's a little bit. It comes off as disappointing, to be honest. I mean, I really wish they could have done a little bit more with the storyline in particular. Considering that this is anime original, they could have taken, unless if there's something that's stopping them from making more episodes. I think they still could have benefited from expanding the storyline even further.
Yeah. But yeah, so I guess that all being said, maybe, you know, until next week, we will see you all for what is possibly the last episode. I guess we'll see. But until next time, we'll see you all later.